Between 2008 and 2017, these two players claimed nearly every major individual award in football. Yet, even during their peak, the sport had consistently identified a third name as the specific person who would eventually join them. He possessed a level of technical skill that made professional defenders look stagnant. In Brazil, he was already being treated as the player who would carry the national team back to the top of the world. This data visualization highlights the core contradiction of his career. On one side, we see an elite scoring output and a trophy cabinet that rivals the greats. On the other, the perception of his career remains deeply fractured, marked by frequent interruptions. Despite achieving statistical dominance for over a decade, his place in football history remains one of the most debated topics in the sport. Investigating that divide requires looking past the current headlines, back to his early years in Brazil, when he appeared to be something almost unreal. At Santos, his rise wasn't just efficient, it was massively popular. He was a teenager scoring at a professional level while treating every match like an exhibition of skills that the crowd had never seen before. His highlights spread globally through early internet clips, drawing the attention of every major European club before he had even reached his 20s. This created a unique pressure. In his home country, he was being measured against the absolute national standard, the career and legacy of Pelé. When he arrived in Europe in 2013, the question was whether he could maintain that same level of individual flair while playing for one of the most structured teams in the world. The results were immediate. Alongside Messi and Suarez, he helped form an attacking front that won major trophies and dominated European competition for years. However, even with that success, the team's identity remained tied to Messi. As long as he stayed in Barcelona, he would remain a secondary piece of the club's history. This created a ceiling. To be recognized as the best player on the planet, he needed to lead a project where he was the undisputed center of gravity. In 2017, he made the choice to move. Paris Saint-Germain paid an unprecedented transfer fee that changed the financial landscape of the entire sport. The goal was clear. By moving to Paris, he was stepping away from a supporting role to become the primary star of a club attempting to reach the top of Europe. This move placed a new, singular demand on his career. Domestic success in France was expected. He was now being judged solely on his ability to win the Champions League. It was a strategic decision meant to finalize his legacy. Instead, it marked the beginning of a period where his career would be defined by factors he couldn't control. His early performances in Paris proved his skill was still at its peak. He controlled matches and scored with the same frequency that had made him a star in Spain. But then the pattern shifted. He began to experience a cycle of sudden physical failure that sidelined him during the critical months of the season. Repeated injuries to his ankles and feet meant he was frequently forced into recovery just as the major tournaments were beginning. The frustration for fans was that whenever he returned, he was still the same player. He would come back from months away and immediately remind everyone of his technical ceiling with a single moment of magic. As he spent more time in the training room, the sport moved forward. Newer, younger stars began to take over the narrative he was supposed to own. These constant physical interruptions divided public opinion. A player who was once seen as the inevitable successor to the throne was now being discussed in terms of lost time. For a Brazilian superstar, there is only one true path to immortality. Regardless of club trophies, the World Cup is the standard by which their lives are judged. His international career became a series of high expectations followed by physical pain and early exits, leaving the nation's greatest hope unfulfilled. He eventually moved away from the top tier of European football, leading to an immediate debate over whether his years at the highest level had ended. Despite everything he achieved, the disconnect between his raw talent and his final list of accomplishments remains the defining feature of his story. This chart tracks the goals, assists, and trophies of a player who statistically ranks among the greatest ever. But jagged red lines show the interruptions, moments where timing, injury, and external pressure forced his career into a different shape. The evidence suggests that his actual talent never vanished. The magic he showed as a teenager at Santos was still there every time he stepped onto the pitch. Ultimately, his story isn't one of fading skill, but of a career caught between elite output and the relentless pressure of external circumstances. He remains a reminder of how quickly timing and health can alter the legacy of even the most gifted players.